Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we want to talk about team future, how man and machine will collaborate in the future. And first, we want to talk about how startups and grown-ups are going to collaborate in the future or collaborate already right now. Mr. Ploss, when we arranged the startup, this talk, you recommended to invite Franka Emika. Why is a startup like Franka Emika building robots so interesting for you?
Well, for a bigger company, startups are interesting because of several reasons. First of all, we are successful in what we do. So what can be next? It is not so simple to think out of the box within a large company. Startups very often have no base, no history. So thinking different is no different. Thinking new is what they are doing. On the other side, when you work together with a startup, then we can help. And for me, it is very important that big companies think about how can they contribute to the success of a startup, and not so much how the startup can contribute to our success. And at the end of the day, we will be potentially successful together, and that is, for me, the fascinating. Another element is also a completely different work environment you see in a startup, where we can learn as a company how we can use, how we can see what they do, how we can change, improve, and think about how things are more fascinating, how you create energy out of what you are doing. So many areas, it's not about the next generation of revenue. Of course, finally that may be, but it is about different things too.
Yeah, and how can you contribute to the success of a startup like Franka Emika?
Well, when we will see what it is about, and then Infineon is a company which is doing a lot of products which is used there. But nevertheless, a startup may have a great idea, but we can support how to use this best, how to be faster in order to come to the solution. You can somehow pave the road in the first instance.
Yeah. Simon, how about you? Why it is so interesting for you to collaborate with big corporates, with grown-ups such as Infineon?
Well, as you already said it, it's startup and grown-up. I was thinking, when I read that, I was thinking about my 4-year-old son, who doesn't really care about what's tomorrow and the day after tomorrow, just what's now. And
do you care about tomorrow?
I by now care, because we got a bit too large not to care anymore.
Okay.
But I think in the first place, as a startup, you can focus on tactics, you can react really fast on demands, on market demands, that a big company just can't do. But one day you want to, in the end we want to create sustainable benefits for the people, for society, for technologies. And that's where we have to work together with the grown-ups, with the large enterprises, because they know how complicated and how difficult it is to do a sustainable benefit, not just a quick fire or a short-term quick fix. And that's for us the most important.
Yeah. You're building robots.
Yeah.
Special robots. What's so special about the robot of Franka Emika?
I'm a believer of seeing and not talking, so let's go over
here.
here.
So now let's introduce the special guest.
Yeah. So just take it off. So this is our robotic system, Franka Emika, or our company is Franka Emika. I'm going to show you a couple of features that are quite unique with this system, and one of those is we call it accessibility. So our system is not only affordable but also accessible through the internet. And basically what I can do, I can launch through the internet my robot, and what he's going to do now, what you see here is basically manipulation of very fine electronics. And it's not just...
Now it's a DJ.
Now it's actually a DJ, but that's not the main point. What we're showing is quality control of robotics or of electronics. And that's today a totally manual task, and we are able to do that because we introduced the sense of touch to robotics. So the robot is actually feeling those knobs, feeling those buttons, and that's the most important sense of touch of a human. Is the most important sense of a human is the sense of touch, and that we introduced to robotics.
Yeah.
And not only you can do things like that, it's quite flexible. So flexibility in terms of you can use this robot for many, many different things. And we do that by introducing app-based robot programming into the world. Let me just push pause here. And why is it so
The
easy?
guys can leave over there, the band. We don't
Yeah,
need the band
right,
anymore.
right. And what is, I think, one of the most critical things is how easy it is to interact with this in the end,
Yeah.
machine. And that's why I would like you guys both to push this button here in the end, and you feel how easy this button here.
This button.
Yeah, this button,
I
and then
will
you just
become a lefty for some
yeah,
moment.
and then you can just move the robot around. It's very
Okay.
simple, and in the end, you can program things that are today take a couple of weeks or even months, and you can program these complicated tasks in a couple of minutes, actually.
In a couple of minutes.
Yeah,
So it's like an iPhone.
it is like an iPhone. Yeah,
Instant coffee.
we can
coffee.
make instant coffee.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if we can see somewhere this
Maybe you can
the programming environment.
Here
So
we
you
have
don't-
some. Those are look like apps.
Yeah, these are apps. So
Okay.
we basically put all the technology, all the features, we put them and encapsulate them into those apps, which are in the end functionalities. Push the button, slide a slider, make a coffee. And we're going to give these app development environments to everybody, so everybody can help making the system even more flexible.
So it's not only a robot, but you have like a user interface, which is similar to a user interface we know from our smartphones or from our browser. So it's very easy to use.
It's quite easy to
Yeah.
use.
How, Mr. Ploss, how will such a robot change the way we work? I mean, when we remember the pictures from like the big car factories, there was a robot in a cage. No one could stay next to him. And now this is totally different. How will this change how we will work?
Well, I think when we look at this robot, then I think there is a lot of thinking about how this robot take over jobs which are difficult, cumbersome for people. So the robot is more to help, but I think sooner or later it is how to educate this robot. We have various types of robots in our factory. First of all, we have the one who is working in the cage. Then we have the one which is moving around, and then we have some which are completely freely moving around, go to a machine, plug in the machine and interact there. And with this we are able to provide productivity, precision, and unload people from jobs where I think they can contribute in different ways better. For us in the factories here, it is how we can, of course, improve productivity and quality, and with this become more competitive on a global basis. So this is the part of the usage. What I like very much with this robot, it is the next stage of robot. It is somehow the interactive robot. When the robot starts to feel, to sense, and interact in a completely different way. You talked about your kid. I would say a little bit like a kid. You train it, and from there it can do the jobs. I think it is not a threat to us. It's a real complement to what we do and how we can move on addressing different topics. So maybe tomorrow you will have a job as robot trainer, which I think is not completely off.
No,
Yes.
I just programmed something really quick just to show everybody how sensitive it is, because you just talked about safety fences, which are usually required in a industrial environment. And if you have such a robot, you don't need to be afraid. I can even put my head. You can even put your head if you want to.
Okay.
So it's
it
super
will not
sensitive.
hurt you.
It will never hurt you. And
Maybe
I
you
think there
can
was
start with the hand.
you can start with the hand, and I think it's very important what you just said. I mean, right now you are the teacher of this machine and
Yeah.
nothing else. But I think at some point they will be more intelligent, and they will, relieve us in the end of tedious tasks, of dangerous work, and that's what the robot is there for, I think.
Yeah, and the new thing is that, like in the past, robot and man worked separately,
Yeah.
more or less, and now they can work together.
Now they can work too. Not
What
even
mo-
more or less. They were absolutely separated with metal cages, basically.
Yeah.
That's what you see when you go into the car manufacturing environments. There's metal cages and there's machines going really fast from A to B.
Yeah.
And if you go in there, you probably won't make it out.
Yeah. What are the use cases for such a robot? Is it for the industry? Is it for
I
I
mean-
don't know, for my home?
No, it's a very good
Like in my
point. I mean, in
for
the
my party?
it is for your party also. No, I mean, in the end, we did not just make an industrial robot, but that's the first entrance, the entry door, the so-called low-hanging fruits. But at some point, of course, we want to go with this robot into service applications and even into the household, helping people that cannot serve themselves anymore. We have a couple of
Into the household.
Yeah.
Can I afford it?
You can afford it. I'm not sure if everybody else can
Yeah, but
afford it.
it's quite interesting.
How
Just
much
to-
is it? How much does it cost?
So there's two versions. I mean, the research version costs 17,000, and the commercial one starts at 10,000 euros.
10,000.
Yeah.
And I will never hire a DJ again.
So for me, it is quite interesting when you think about that elderly people want to live at home for a longer time. So taking care of a lot of things, they can help. Raise from this, even from the chair, helping them in many areas. So it is even adding value to our life, and it is something. Of course, we do not want now to take away human interaction, but the humans who have spent the time should really interact and not taking these services. So I think when you look down the road, there are many more possibilities which can be considered, and the ease of programming, this coexistence of robot and mean, is something which I think is really to come.
Yeah. You just started the production of your robot.
Well, we started the
Yeah.
production a long time ago, but today we're starting to ship. So serious production is running now. Yeah.
Yeah. And what's like a little vision of the future for you and your robot? Who's going to use it? Are we going to see it at Volkswagen and BMW, or I don't know?
Well, I cannot tell all the names, but maybe they are among them. Of course, as I said, first place is the manufacturing production assistant. That's what
Okay.
it does. But we are already working now with university hospitals, with service or elderly care, where we want these robots to help those people who cannot really help themselves anymore. And that's for us actually the bigger dream than just to be an industrial robot supplier.
Yeah. When I first heard about your company, I was really surprised. Developing robots in Schwabing. That sounds like crazy. Yeah. I mean, why is Schwabing such a good place to develop robots? Because they are so good pups, or what's the reason?
Well, I mean, in my opinion, Schwabing is the most beautiful place on the planet, and that's why we are there. One reason, but I mean, our entire developers team is more or less from here, from south of Germany. A lot of us were educated at German Aerospace Center in south of Munich. We have the TU Munich here, so we have a lot of robotics expertise here. And in the end, it was a secret tip. There was a cheap, because Munich is quite expensive, there was a cheap per square meters less so to rent the place. And that's why we started actually at the very accurate position. But our dream is now, obviously, to make Schwabing to Automation Valley for this.
Automation Valley.
Yeah.
Okay. So is like Munich is a better place to develop robots than, for example, I don't know, the Silicon Valley or Japan?
I think it's a bit difficult to say who's better, who's worse. I don't think that's the question. But if you look at the world, where does robotics technology really come from? It's the DACH, so the German-speaking area, and Japan. So we are, especially in mechatronics, currently we are there a step ahead, and maybe a bit more broad and different technologies.
But from my point of view, said we are very happy to have them here because we can work together closely in order to develop those technologies which are the sensors which make the things move. And I think in Germany we have an excellent industrial environment.
Yeah.
Why not using this industrial environment to establish, to learn, to accelerate? I think not everything has to go to the valley in order to start up. And the message here is what I really find very respective, that they said we stay here, we do it here, and we can make it happen. And I think this is an element which we need more. So definitely from our point of view, we like it, and we are happy to support and make them even, or say, happy to stay here for longer and grow.
So the future of Germany and its famous Industry 4.0 is startups and corporates working together
Yes,
and developing the technology for the
absolutely.
future?
I think here definitely not to think startup versus corporate. We talked about before Germany is a little bit different than the Valley, and we have our strengths, and therefore we believe that this cooperation, making this, I would say, running in fabs, you have to be 100% sure nobody is injured. We have to think about so many things, and as said before, moving fast, get it started. Step back and think about what is required, then move again. This is what I think is definitely and where we can work together, but maybe Simon can tell us how he perceives the support from the big ones on that.
I think we already said it in the very beginning. We want to do a sustainable business. We want to, for a long term, not for 2 months or a year, help everybody, but what we want is that in 2 years, 5 years, and 10 years, there is in Germany a very strong robotics, again, let's say robotics technology, which is going to be maybe even the biggest in the entire world. And that's, we need big companies for that, otherwise it's not going to work.
Great. So, if you want to buy this robot, you can buy it on the web shop, just order now. And if you want to learn more about startups and grown-ups working together, join our SZ Wirtschaftsgipfel in November. We have special startup tickets there. And we have a startup pitch bringing together startups and corporates. So if you want to apply, it's the Gipfelstürmer-Wettbewerb. You will find it at our website. And maybe we see you again in November, and definitely next year here on stage with CEO Talkers. So it was a pleasure for me having you both on stage, and a pleasure having this robot here on stage. And more music?
We can do that.
Yeah, more music. Okay. So, sorry guys about that. The music is now from the robot, and we say goodbye.
Vielen Dank. Viel Erfolg.
Jetzt haben